Good morning, or perhaps is it good evening? Depends where you are in the world. My name is Alec Blacklaw. I'm the founder and the creator of the Business Improvement Program. And in fact, a lot of people don't call it that. They call it the BIP. And everybody in Australia gets nicknames, and you'll probably hear about that a little bit more. In fact, I am really excited. And why I'm so excited is I have, as you can probably see, three smiley faces on this screen. And I've just noticed that for once, at the top, to my left, and that may be your right, but is Kerry Phipps, who's also here from Australia, in fact, somewhere up in New South Wales. Just down to that in this Brady Bunch pose is Simon McCaskill, a dear friend of mine, and I'm not going to introduce and tell you too much about the people just yet. We'll get to that. And then Adam Gray across to the right in a sunny part of East Anglia, would that be right?
That is indeed correct. And I'm having to do it from the back of my car because we have a broadband problem at home.
Well, that's it.
In fact, we've got the lovely countryside in view.
Beautiful. Well, we're in the evening, and clearly there's some natural sunshine flooding in. So I'll kick straight off into it. And this is what we just thought that it would be magnificent to get at least three of the many speakers that are going to be attending and, in fact, speaking and making a huge impact at the Business Improvement Program. So we've got a couple of programs coming up in Australia. And in addition to the three people that are here on screen today, we'll also have the legendary, in fact, what I'd say, Mr. Paul Dunn, co-founder of B1G1, and an amazing man who is making significant impacts every single day of his life, a brilliant man. And joining us from a financial perspective in both Melbourne and Sydney is Mark Said from MKS Group, and also Duncan Barber and Adelaide Maxwell from Omniwealth, one of the leading firms in Sydney in terms of financial and business advisory. So with that done, that's the intro out. I want you to meet Simon McCaskill. And Simon, if I could just put a question or two to you, would that be okay?
Of course, yeah.
Well, I've worked with you a couple of times over the last year in terms of business improvement programs in the UK, and I'm really delighted that you're able to come out and join us for both Melbourne and Sydney gigs, which is going to be quite exciting. So what should people really expect from Simon McCaskill? I mean, I haven't said too much, but to those of you who have visited the site, you'll know that Simon is he lives, breathes everything around digital marketing, and in fact is a lead trainer for Google in Europe and the UK. So tell me a little bit about what we should expect, Simon, and some of the things you might be able to share with us.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the big thing with digital and all the training that I do now is 88% of businesses are missing out. And what does missing out mean? They're just not really maximizing the digital opportunity. And those that do, they grow twice as fast, they employ twice as many people. It's a huge, huge opportunity. There are 3.5 billion searches every single day. And what I see is a lot of businesses just not quite figuring out where they need to be found and how they're found. So at the Business Improvement Program, what we do is really just break it down to the basics that most businesses are missing out on. And what's really, really important, and at whatever level you're talking to or at, is that we deliver it in such a way that people get it. We don't use jargon. We don't use buzzwords. We talk in a very plain English. So people sit there, hopefully, and go, I get it. And this is how we can go forward. And what we do at the BIP is obviously we break that down in the segment we've got, and then we tell some stories, some success stories, because the internet is where 90% of all millionaires are now made. And the opportunity is massive, but you've just got to be turned on to digital and maybe think a little bit differently to sort of get that opportunity for your business.
So I'm sure at some point the BIP attendees are going to get a little bit of an insight into some of the goings on inside Google and some of the things about getting to the top of rankings. And I'm sure you're going to destroy or maybe twist a little bit some of those myths or the things that people tend to take for granted, or that some people are really pushing out there in that SEO space. It's not all about just SEO and pay-per-click, is it?
No, do you know what? Not at all. So there is no rule book. Google don't publish a rule book. If they did, I would be out of a job, as would many other people. And why don't they publish a rule? But because Google are constantly changing the rules. I think of Google as the host of an Olympics, and all they want to do is have a clean race, and they're trying to constantly make sure that all the participants aren't bending the rules, aren't drug cheats, and Google is constantly trying to learn how to do that. So there is no rules, and anybody that tells you different and says this black and white, this is what to do and what not to do, is not really being totally truthful. But there's a lot of money to be made in that. A lot of money to be made in that. So what we want to do is we want businesses and the people that are running businesses to take a step back and say, hey, I get this, and now I can make informed decisions on how I can operate my business online. And then, social, Adam, pay-per-click, SEO, all these options are options to you to build the microphone, to get your message out. But if your message isn't right in the first place and you're missing out on the key things, there's no point. So it's about really getting that basic understanding first.
Wow. Well, already I've learned so much, and already you've given me an insight into what's really important. And I think every single person who's running a business today will get a giant amount out of the very common sense way that you present all things digital. So thanks, Adam. Hang on in there, as I know you will. Adam Gray. Now, I've known you now for almost a couple of years. In fact, it feels more than that. And I must say, every time I speak with you, I learn a little bit more, almost about everything, but particularly, with as a co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates, based in the UK and working extensively across Europe, and excitingly now into North America, and I suspect Australia. Look out. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you do? And I know there's 3 key parts to what DLA does, Digital Leadership Associates, but in terms of what people can expect for your part out here, again in Melbourne and in Sydney, with social media, building a brand, social media management strategy. Tell me some of the things that you might be sharing, Adam, please.
Yeah, so, well, we are passionate about social. We think that the future of the world and business is based around social media. And we know from our own behaviors that advertising and marketing doesn't really work in the way that it used to. You don't believe adverts. Maybe 30 years ago, that would be how you would discover things. Now that tends not to be the case. You tend to ask your friends. You tend to do your own research and build up your own knowledge base before making a decision. And social is the biggest way of influencing that. So increasingly, failure to have an appropriate professional social presence means that people that are doing their due diligence and research, they jump to the wrong conclusions. Okay. So what we do is we explain to people the importance of social and how the framework inside which their business sits has changed, and empower them to make sure that they can take command of that. Because so often we see people who are delighted to do something on somebody's behalf, but are not empowering those people. So we see increasingly an agency model. I'll do your job for you, because that absolves you of any responsibility of actually doing some work. And what we want to do is to empower people to take control of their own presence and ensure that they're driving people to where they need to be. To the website to do their further due diligence, but also to jump to those right conclusions. Because we always talk about jumping to conclusions, but we do that. We see 3 things and we assume that continues, and that there's this, the ultimate goal of what this is pointing at is where you are. So we need to make sure that with our own social presences, we are helping people to jump to those conclusions, the conclusions that we want.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm sure it will to everybody else. Everybody, when I say everybody, it's nearly everybody, is on Facebook in some shape or form. And the younger people now are jumping off and have jumped off for a little while. And there are other ways that they're socially interacting. But at a business level, I've yet to see a lot of businesses really getting social right in terms of what they're doing strategically and linking that into brand equity, brand enhancement, and their position in the marketplace. They all know they need to do it. Well, I shouldn't say they. Not all of them do. But what can some of them do a little bit? Just what are some of the little things that they might just turn their mind to, or you might address for them or guide them?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be honest with you, it's more about unlocking their confidence than anything else.
Okay.
As an individual, we know how to have conversations. We know how to build friendships. We know how to build relationships. And yet somehow, when you port that into the business world, you think about your brand, your corporate message, all of these things, the distance between you, the person that's delivering the service or the product, and me, the customer. And actually, when people start to become more intimate and more authentic in those conversations that they have, all of a sudden the pieces of the puzzle fall into place. And so often with the kind of the social marketing that organizations do, we see it's kind of like the sales equivalent of me going up to a girl in a bar and saying, "I couldn't help but notice you over the bar. Will you marry me, please?" Now, as a first introduction, that's not an appropriate thing to say. If I were to say to her, "I couldn't help but notice you over the bar. May I buy you a drink?" And then we chat for a while. Then I say, "May I see you again?" And ultimately, I may end up married to her, but it isn't appropriate to deliver that at the first interaction. But so often with businesses, we see we have to close the sale. It's all about closing. Close. When should you ask the close question? At the earliest opportunity. But before people have made up their minds, they feel pressured. And particularly in an online world where I just need to flick the switch and turn you off, that's a very, very dangerous way to behave, really.
Right. Wow, that makes a huge amount of sense, and I can't wait to hear more.
It's not very simple, as you know, Alec.
Oh, well, I'm lucky I've heard it before, but every time I hear something from you, Adam, it's always delightfully interesting. And something just goes off for me where I think I'm going to put that into practice. There's always something that's really simple that I know I can take away and do something with it. So I know I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's like when you deliver. The object of being up on stage talking to the audience is not to show them how much you know, because you're the expert. It's to show them how much they know and empower them to be able to make the move.
Wow. Oh, this is all really exciting. And in fact, it's a nice segue. I don't know if I can zoom all the way up and across here to Kerry Phipps, because there was a couple of things. That was an Aussie salute you just gave us there.
A beep has buzzed past.
Well, we won't have bees, necessarily in Melbourne or Sydney, but we certainly will have flies for you. So we look forward to seeing how your actions work then. Kerry Phipps, I am delighted that you've been able to join us, because you've just returned from a whirlwind, I don't know if it was 6, 8 or 9 or 10 days in India. And I'm really delighted that you've managed to put away that jet lag for a moment and join us. So thank you. Can I just share a little bit about Kerry? And in fact, Adam, you segued beautifully to it. And I know not on purpose, because this is the first time that the three of you are actually meeting each other as a trio, so to speak. I wish I'd expressed that a little bit differently, but nonetheless. But Kerry is just one of these wonderful people that as soon as you meet her and have an opportunity to spend 5 or 7 or 8 or 10 minutes, you feel, wow, that's great connection. And I know that's natural for Kerry, but in fact, it's also part of your expertise. You know, you've written a wonderful book called Do Talk to Strangers. So tell us a little bit about that, because I know big for you is connecting and allowing leaders to be empowered and to be more effective and to communicate with confidence. Now that, can you just shine a little bit more on that for the people who are listening in and watching, by the way?
Thanks, Alec. And there it is. Yeah, do talk to strangers, because we're told don't. And it's funny, people say, oh yeah, we tell our kids that. And I say, yes, but have you actually heard people tell their adult parents that? It's just a thing that people say, you know, don't talk to strangers, because maybe it will inconvenience somebody, or maybe you'll put somebody out. But there's a world of opportunities. And I actually was not at all confident to connect with people. But when I started my business about 14 years ago as a leadership coach, through the coach training, I was learning to connect with people in a way that unlocks quality thinking. But in order to build a business, I was like, I didn't have a business improvement program. I didn't know you guys. And I'm just like, where do I start? So I just go to networking functions and meet people. And I just found that when I changed the conversation in my head, I was able to connect more confidently, more authentically, and not just limiting it to the networking room. And I think a lot of people do that in business. They go, okay, I need to go and meet some people. I need some new clients. So we go to a networking function. But then you go in with that agenda, like, I need to get some clients. I need to get 10 business cards before the night's over. Got to do some deals or set up some coffee appointments. And there's this drive and agenda that can actually distance people, just like Adam was talking about when somebody's like ready for the sale straight away. I also discovered just in my travels that I would meet extraordinary people everywhere. So trains, planes, the checkout, it's amazing the conversation that you can strike up without trying to get a client, but just trying to be kind to people, just connecting and making someone's day. And then they say, so what are you doing? And then I tell them and they say, oh, I need that. Can I book a time with you? So I really had extraordinary things happen just in the most everyday of places. And sometimes it was something that benefited me, like a new client or a conference I was asked to speak at. Or sometimes I might say, oh, I'd love to introduce you to this other person. And then, young people are getting funding for tertiary education, or different projects are taking off because I've connected the right people. So it's just really about the world of opportunities that opens up when we can shift the conversation in our head and, get out of our own way sometimes and be open to opportunity and open to serve people and, to create win-win scenarios or win-win-wins.
Win-win-win. I like that. Win-win.
Yeah. Because sometimes we might think it's about us working together, but there are so many more people that benefit. And and that's one of the things I really loved about you when I connected with you and Peter in Queensland recently was your passion to make a much bigger difference than just what you do every day in your business.
Well, I think that passion that you've just spoken about very kindly, and thank you. I think when I say I think, forgive me for think, I'm always thinking, so it's always dripped into my language, but I absolutely know that every one of the presenters is passionate and expert in their area and keen to make that difference. There's a leadership theme that runs right throughout the BIP. And in fact, every one of the speakers, including the Adam and Simon and Kerry and Paul and Michael and Atley and Duncan will speak about leadership. But that's a key thread for you, Kerry, in the way that you empower leaders. Is there something that even right now people can be thinking about in terms of leadership and how they might start to reconsider leadership in the way they go about their day-to-day things?
Well, it starts with us, and as I've mentioned, the conversation in our head.
Right.
Take notice what's going on in my thinking when I'm sitting down talking to somebody. Am I listening for an opportunity to say something clever, or am I listening to really hear where they're coming from and see how I can support them? So I think paying attention to ourselves and others. So, we start with awareness of ourselves and other people. So, listening is such a key thing, whether we are encountering somebody on a train and just having a quick conversation, but just really being present and connecting with them, or whether it's, with somebody on your team or a customer, but really putting aside all the busyness. Maybe it's literally putting something down, like putting a mobile phone down, or maybe it's just putting aside all that chatter and sometimes just being really honest and saying, could you please tell me that again? You've got my full attention now. A lot of people will just pretend that they're listening and then think, oh, I didn't really hear that, and then not even say anything. But if we just own it and say, I'd like to hear that again so I can give you full attention. So I think being more honest and authentic in our connections, it deepens the relationships. And I think people don't go there because they fear that it might be uncomfortable or might not work. But an honest relationship is always far deeper than 10 times more surface ones.
Brilliant. Very good. So we've worked together, guys, quite a number of times actually over the last year, and I'm delighted to be able to bring you guys out here to sunny Melbourne and Sydney Like I should have said Sydney and Melbourne because the Sydney BIP is first. So I understand you wanted to ask me a thing or two about the BIP or whether it will be different here in Australia.
Yeah, so Alec, I'll lead with that if that's okay. So I've been fortunate to be at 2BIP so far, and although I was presenting, it gave me 2 days worth of opportunity to sit there and think about my own business. So I know the benefits of the BIP and what it can do. But in your words, what is the BIP, and what can businesses expect?
What I know for sure, and having run the BIP many times now in different parts of the world, is that without sounding too simplistic, business is business. But quite often people get caught up in their own sector or segment and influenced by their peers or thinking about their competitors or what they ought to be thinking. But often they're not really thinking about how can I move my business to another level. You know, in this dynamic and disruptive and digital world in which we live, is that how can I actually work and get a sense of what other businesses in different industries and segments are doing. And so when we brought the business improvement program together, we created a format. We didn't do it enough. You've all said it in different ways, not to show how clever we are, because, you know, there are some really clever and intelligent and insightful people out there. And I'm delighted to have you guys and Paul and Mark and Duncan join us. But it's really about the opportunity to hear not just speakers or academics, but real life business people, entrepreneurs who've won and lost and had some great wins and some things that have not done well, but bringing that all together in a very powerful and practical way. And with the 9 strategies that we have, including the very special one, which I must come back to with Paul Dunn, is that each of the business owners gets a chance to work on their own business, not role play, but really work on it in the many breakouts. And the learning comes from the learnings inside that group. And then we bring all the groups back together, the learnings from the other groups. And that's really insightful. People tell me that's one of the things that they really love about the business improvement program.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, do you know what? I'll jump in with another question as well.
Sure.
So what are the key takeaways that they'll learn, and why is this different to other programs and conferences?
You know, everybody might say their program's unique, okay, and so I won't say that. But what I will definitely say is that the business improvement program has been built for business owners in a very specific way, built on real life, practical scenarios from what is happening out there in the real world. And every business owner I meet would love to have a business that's in fact more profitable, one that's more valuable, as well as enjoyable. And when we link the profitable, valuable, and enjoyable bits together, not just 1 or 2, but the 3 together, they end up having many more options. And most people I meet, and I'm the same myself, when I have some options, I feel like, wow, I know why I went into business, but I can now really live the life that I desire for me and my family and the people that I care about. So it's that immersive element and being surrounded by really talented business people through the morning teas, the afternoon teas, the lunches, the dinners, the odd glass of red wine or sparkling or something, and then a chance to really work on your own business in a very collaborative way without feeling pressured to do or say the right thing. It's a very safe environment that we provide. But one, back to your takeaways, that in every time, what we find is that people do really have bundles of takeaways, or in fact, what seems to be coined, lots of light bulb moments where they've gone, aha. But the power of any idea is only ever in its implementation. So we're very keen to make sure that this is absolutely not a talk fest, but where people come away with real things they can take away and implement. And by the way, that will mean that they're not all really super expensive or in terms of investment, working cap, going to consume a lot of energy or resource. And in fact, Paul Dunn will talk very much about the power of some really small ideas that will have amazing and powerful impact. So they're in front of us, and it's back to something that each of you have said in your own way about awareness and listening and being practical and taking those things and having the confidence to implement, because we can all do it. The reality is other people before us have created awesome businesses. So we can follow and learn a huge amount from the masters.
Yeah, brilliant.
If I can just ask you a quick question. So I've been over the years to many, many, many business events. And to a certain extent, I've become desensitized by those, because always it's the same kind of stuff that is being spoken about.
Yeah.
People talk about best practice and all this kind of rubbish, which is not applicable to my business or their business. Now, I've, like Simon, I've been fortunate enough to be to 2 of the BIP events. And there's a pragmatism to how you particularly, but everybody else by virtue of the fact that we're following your lead, delivers their insights in a way that people can really kind of get hold of. And you feel that there's a real sense of change happening within the organizations that are there, because you call it light bulb moments. But when these guys, they get this idea and you can see they're itching to leave to go and implement it. If you were going to kind of sum this up in one way, that all of those people that have been to 20 events and never had any benefit, how you would describe this as being different, you know that they're going to get a benefit.
And thank you very much. There's some very kind things you've said there. But I think where I know the benefit will come, and it's an absolute guarantee, right? That sounds like a really big call, is that we guarantee that you will take away half a dozen items that you'll be able to take away, put them into practice inside your business and come up with some outstanding results, greater outcomes. You'll enjoy things a lot more. You will see we have these little things that we call 1%. And if we could just do things 1% better, and everybody can, then imagine what we'll have after 7, 8, or 9 months, given there's a little thing called Christmas and Easter and holidays in between. So even if we're only picking up 7 or 8, 1% a year, and that most of that goes straight to the bottom line without being too commercially crass, wouldn't that be wonderful? And in fact, we're always searching for what one thing could we do differently that might have greater impact. And so for me, that seems to be what comes out of it for nearly every single person. And in fact, if people did want to jump onto the businessimprovementprogram.com website, there's a little tab there called Experience. We call it Experience for a reason, because people come out of the BIP every single time with a really powerful experience. And that's where we say, well, if you're absolutely not delighted with the BIP after 2 days, then we will absolutely, without any quibble, return your investment 100%. So there's some real confidence, and again, it doesn't come from arrogance. It just comes from the fact that we've been around a whole range of businesses, regardless of size, shape, years in business, sector, and even in country. You know, I was out in the UK twice between November and May of this year, so only some 8 weeks ago. And there were different considerations in Europe and in the UK with Brexit, and with the level of, or the impact of the change of Trump and terrorism and our friends in North Korea, and I'm using the word perhaps a bit politely there, but we're all confronted with things that are continually occurring in our world. But at the end of the day, what we need to do is really focus in on our business and what we can do to make a difference and to make it that little bit better. And everybody seems to find a way to absolutely come away with, let's call it 5, perhaps even 10 light bulb moments where they do it. And then maybe I haven't answered the question specifically as I intended when I started speaking, but there's a real thread of trust that we are looking to build from the very first session right through to the last, about building value on exit. And we know that if there's a real challenge, as each of you have individually said, about building trust in this digital world, and perhaps we're less trusting for a combination of reasons, but if we can give people lots of reasons to trust us, and in fact, the opening session that I kick off with is around, and I won't say too much on this, but 3 key ingredients to building trust. So I hope that gives you some sense of how I see the BIP and why I'm so passionate about it.
It's really exciting. Can I just add a comment to that, Alec?
Absolutely, Kerry, yeah.
As I'm hearing you speak about it, and Simon and Adam with their experience of working with you on this program, but even our conversation a month or so back, what you've created in the way that you are scheduling the sessions, and you've been so purposeful in creating it. And I just thought it's such a brain-friendly environment. And, that matters, because we often come to conferences and get so overwhelmed. And, we don't want to just leave with a manual of, ideas and stuff to do. But, those light bulb moments, when we connect, we are able to, deepen the insight, and then it makes those changes effortless. So I'm just really excited about that. The brain science that's underneath the plan that you've got, whether you knew it or not, is really quite amazing. So I know that people are getting great results from that. Yeah. So I'm just super excited and really delighted to be working with you.
I'm really excited about sort of bringing back the core of our team, and then adding yourself, Kerry, which I know is going to bring a special dimension. In fact, we're too heavily male-centric here, so thank you for rocking the boat just that little bit. And I'm sure programs in 2018, as we bring them right throughout Australia, back to the UK and across to South Africa, in fact, which is really exciting for March. Johannesburg and Cape Town beckon, and then it's back to the UK and so forth. But really talented team. And again, the session 5 we call Staying Alive in Business. And that's you'll hear from the financial gurus and the business guys, just breaking that down in nice, simple stuff into how you can unlock your profit potential, and why some of even the best businesses have had to really get their cash flow under control, and indeed learn a little bit about what the best businesses are doing to manage their working capital. So we're going to smash open a balance sheet. Just imagine that for a bit of fun, okay? Imagine some other things. But we're going to smash open that balance sheet and get you to really understand, probably for the very first time, the things in a very different way. And we're going to paint them in a dashboard where you will be able to understand the factors that are really critical for your success. And when I say factors that are critical for your success, I'm talking about at a board level, you as business owners, but more importantly than that, around your team, and how you can really get the best out of your people, and then really have this ultimate connection and trust that you can build with your clients. So, and community, by the way. So more on community here. So there's a real big message with the way that we give back, and you'll hear more about that with the projects we're privileged to contribute to with Buy One, Give One with BG One. So has anybody got a parting comment they'd like to say, or a question or an invitation? I know I'm excited about people getting along. We have some tickets left, I understand, for the BIP in Sydney, which kicks off on the 13th and 14th of September in the Blue Mountains at the glorious Sofitel. And likewise, we have some tickets left in Melbourne down at that Torquay, which is on the Great Ocean Road, which most people may have seen in some things. I can see you guys smiling at seeing some of the wonderful sites that we have here in Australia. So if you do want to get along, jump onto our website. There's in the register bit, there's certainly opportunities for you to pick up some tickets. And again, I don't want you to forget that really this will be brilliant. This will be life-changing. This will be impactful. And if you're not delighted at the end of the 2 days, we will certainly refund your money. Hasn't happened yet, but that we just want to lower the risk for you guys. And when I say guys, I mean guys and girls, so that you really can run an awesome business, because we know you can. Others have done it before you, and the impact for you, your fellow business owners, your team, your clients, and your family will be outstanding. So I'm really excited about it. So back to each of you for a closing word, if you like.
Yeah, well, I'll just jump in. Personally, I'm excited to talk about it to start with, because I'm an absolute geek and I love to share all this stuff. But secondly, I'm just excited again to spend, for me, 2 days again sat in that room thinking about business and running a business, alongside my work for Google. It's an opportunity I don't get. And I do find it quite dangerous as well, because after those 2 days, it's like, right, what we're going to go home and do now? So no, I can't wait. So I can't wait to get there, get involved, and help as many people as possible. So excellent.
Be brilliant to have you in Australia for 10 days. Look forward to seeing you, Simon.
Brilliant, thanks.
Well, I'm excited because I love hanging out with geeks, especially when they simplify things. So totally pumped now. Thank you, Simon. Adam, it's been great to hear from you too. And Alec, we've had lots of conversations, but I am super excited because I think, you know, now right across the world, it's such an important time for business to really be flourishing like they dream of and making the difference that they really want to do. So it's really important that we all improve our businesses, and that's what the Business Improvement Program is all about. So thank you, Alec, for putting this all together. And thank you for including me. I'm really pumped.
Excellent. Yeah, see you shortly.
The last two have been a really exciting melting pot, and it's lovely to watch businesses develop and mature in front of our very eyes, and to give that help to people and to watch the effect that we have on businesses is just really rewarding to be part of that. So thank you. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's great. I want to thank each of you. In fact, it's still early there in the UK. It's probably just getting to 10 to 8 here in Australia. I'm delighted that you've taken time out of your really busy schedules, because each of you are running extraordinary businesses yourself and impacting the lives of many people, to join us here. And look forward to seeing you in Australia in 3 or 4 weeks, perhaps it's thereabouts. So exciting times ahead. And thanks again, ladies and gents.
Thanks, Alec. Nice to see you guys.
Catch you later. Bye-bye. See you.